The automatic doors of Kennedy International Airport slid open as Marcus Wellington stepped through, pulling his leather briefcase behind him. The morning sun cast long shadows across the polished floor. He had flown this route 100 times before, always first class, always smooth. Today would be different. At gate 17, Marcus handed his boarding pass to the agent, a thin woman named Carol whose name tag gleamed under the fluorescent lights. She glanced at the pass, then at Marcus, then back at the pass. Her fingers froze on the scanner. "Sir, this must be a mistake," Carol said, her voice sharp. Marcus smiled, patient. "No mistake. That is my seat, first class, row 2. Carol shook her head, her lips pressed into a thin line. "These seats are for premium passengers. You probably want economy. Gate 23. The words hit him like a slap. Around them, other passengers slowed their pace, watching. Marcus felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice steady. "I am a premium passenger. I have platinum status. Please scan the pass." "I need to see another form of identification," Carol insisted, her hand moving toward her radio. "Something does not add up here." Marcus pulled out his wallet, showing his driver's license, his platinum card, his business credentials. Carol barely looked at them. Instead, she pressed the button on her radio. "Security to gate 17. We have a situation." The words echoed through the terminal. Heads turned. Phones came out. Marcus stood perfectly still, his heart pounding, his mind racing. 2 security officers approached, hands resting on their belts. "What seems to be the problem?" the taller officer asked. Carol pointed at Marcus. "This man is trying to board with a ticket I believe is fraudulent." Marcus pulled out his phone, opening the Airline app. "Here is my confirmation. Here is my receipt. I purchased this ticket 3 weeks ago. I am Marcus Wellington, CEO of Apex Technologies. This is discrimination, plain and simple." The officer looked uncomfortable, glancing between Marcus and Carol. "Sir, if you could just step aside now," Marcus said, his voice firm but controlled. "I will not step aside. I have done nothing wrong. I have a valid ticket. I am being profiled because of the color of my skin, and everyone here can see it." Passengers murmured, some recording on their phones. Carol's face flushed red. The security officers shifted their weight. Uncertain, Marcus raised his phone higher, making sure the camera captured everything. "I want to be clear. I am recording this. I am documenting every word, every action. This is not just about me. This is about every black person who has been treated like a criminal for simply existing in spaces we have every right to occupy." A woman in a business suit stepped forward from the crowd. "I saw the whole thing. He showed valid identification. This is wrong." Another voice joined in, then another. The crowd was turning. Carol looked to the security officers for help, but they were backing away. Realizing the situation was spiraling beyond their control, Marcus lowered his phone but kept recording. He pulled out a business card, handing it to Carol with steady hands. "You will be hearing from my attorneys. So will your supervisors. So will the media." He turned to the growing crowd. "Thank you for bearing witness. Change only happens when people refuse to look away." Marcus walked away from the gate, his boarding pass still unscanned, his seat empty. But his mind was already 10 steps ahead. He dialed a number, and his head attorney picked up on the first ring. "David, I need you to file a lawsuit. Today. And I need you to dig deep. I want to know if this has happened before. I want every complaint, every incident, every pattern. We are going to court, and we are going to win." The investigation took 3 months. David's team worked around the clock, combing through records, interviewing passengers, gathering evidence. What they found was staggering. 57 complaints in 2 years, all from black passengers, all dismissed by the airline as misunderstandings. Gate agents had been moved to different locations, given warnings, but never fired. The pattern was undeniable. Marcus sat in the conference room as David spread the files across the table. "We have them," David said, his eyes bright with determination. "This is systematic. This is institutional. We can prove it." The trial began on a cold October morning. The courtroom was packed, reporters lining the back row, cameras outside capturing every arrival. Marcus walked in wearing a navy suit, his head high, his expression calm. Across the aisle, the airline's legal team sat in expensive chairs, their faces carefully neutral. The airline's CEO, Richard Preston, took the stand first. He denied everything. "We have strict policies against discrimination. If incidents occurred, they were isolated. We cannot control the actions of every employee." David stood, papers in hand. "Cannot control, or chose not to. Let me show you something." He projected emails onto the screen, internal communications showing complaints ignored, agents protected, passengers blamed. The jury leaned forward, reading every word. Richard shifted in his seat, his confidence cracking. Witness after witness took the stand. A teacher from Detroit who had been removed from her seat despite a valid ticket. A doctor from Atlanta who had been questioned for 20 minutes while white passengers boarded freely. A student from Chicago who had been accused of theft when asking for a blanket. Their voices filled the courtroom, each story another brick in the wall of evidence. Marcus testified last. He spoke clearly, without anger, but with absolute conviction. "I did not file this lawsuit for money. I filed it because silence is complicity. If I, with all my resources and privilege, stay quiet, what happens to those without a platform? What happens to the next person, the next family, the next child who is told they do not belong?" The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the forewoman stood, paper in hand. "We find in favor of the plaintiff. We award damages in the amount of $42 million. The courtroom erupted. Richard Preston's face went white. Marcus closed his eyes, breathing deep. It was not about the money. It had never been about the money. 2 weeks later, Richard Preston resigned. The airline issued a public apology, promising reform. But Marcus knew promises were not enough. He used $30 million of the settlement to create the Aviation Equality Initiative, an independent organization dedicated to monitoring discrimination in the airline industry. He hired investigators, established hotlines, created bias training programs. He partnered with other airlines, the ones willing to change, and pressured the ones who resisted. 6 months after the verdict, new federal regulations were passed requiring all airlines to report discrimination complaints publicly. Training became mandatory. Consequences became real. Marcus stood in his office, looking out at the city skyline. His phone buzzed with a message from a young woman in Texas. "Thank you for fighting. I just flew first class for the first time without incident. Because of you, things are different." He smiled, setting the phone down. One flight had changed everything. One refusal to accept injustice had sparked a movement. The work was far from over, but the direction was clear. The sky was no longer a place where some belonged and others did not. It was open, finally, to everyone.